Hello, my loves. Long time no chat. I was just sitting here at my desk going over my decks that I've used the most this quarter since we are coming up on the end of March here. And I thought it'd be fun to do like a little desk deck wrap-up video with you and just chat about things and hang out. So, one of the things that I'm doing this year is trying to keep better track of the decks that I'm using most frequently. So, I've made a page in my little quarterly workbook that I have and just decks that I've used. I split it up with Oracle decks, tarot decks, and then I have like the decks on my desk here. What the decks on the desk means is I literally have like a little caddy with a few deck, well, that can hold a few decks. So the ones that kind of are there, I are the ones that I'm like grabbing most often, with the caveat to that being some of these decks are also on my nightstand in my bedroom. But that's kind of what I've been doing, and I'm just putting a little star next to them when I use them. Now, to be fully transparent about this tracking system, I'm not faithfully doing this every time I use the deck. I just am doing it like when I remember, or if I sit down and I'm like, oh, what did I like use this week? I can like put little stars next to them. So this just gives me a overview look of like, okay, which decks have the most stars under them, which ones did I use the most during this time period. And then there are a lot of decks that were on here. Not what I, not that, rewind. There are a lot of decks that I used once or twice that I just didn't bother writing down here for whatever reason. All of that to say, I wanted to transparently share that because in the past I have tried to do this, and then because I don't record every single deck, I fall off and then abandon said system. And then I don't have a good memory of like what I've used. Even one of the ones on here, I'm like, oh yeah, if I hadn't written that down, I wouldn't have remembered that I used that deck literally like all January. So perhaps you'd like to try that system for yourself as well. Um, if you want to track but found that the kind of all or nothing thing hasn't worked for you in the past. This is going to be very chatty. I'm woefully underprepared. I'm using my laptop and Zoom, and I can't find my microphone. So thank you for bearing with me. Without further ado, let's talk about the decks that I used the most this quarter in no particular order. I will start with the one that's in front of me. If you've been around for a while, you'll probably just skip past this one. This is the Haunted House Tarot by Sasha Graham. I have talked about her for like my entire YouTube career, it feels like. Um, this is one of those decks that's just, I consider it like my personality in a deck, my home deck, my partner deck, any of those like trendy, cute, soul deck, whatever titles that people give their decks. This is just the deck that feels most like me and that I get the clearest messages with. And I was really sad because last year I kind of like put her away. She didn't want to play with me for like a whole year. Uh, she would come out once in a while, and other than that, we were taking like a huge break, which again made me very sad. But in the past couple of weeks here, actually, I think just this week, she's finally come back out to play. Which I guess maybe she shouldn't have made it on this list, but I still have 1 week in March left, and I know it's gonna be kind of the main one on my desk. So this is the Haunted House Tarot by Sasha Graham with all of her lovely beat up edges. She's my comfort deck. She just speaks to me in languages that nobody else can understand. And I'm very happy that it's back in my working rotation. Next, let's talk about one of the two decks that I've acquired this year. Technically, this is the only deck that I've purchased in 2026. I did purchase one at the end of December, which is a different one, so we're kind of counting that. But this deck is the These Blue Bones Oracle by Rose Bay Tarot. There was a whole thing on YouTube, on the internet, unfortunately, around some drama with this deck. We're not going to get into it, or this deck's creator and another creator. Any whoosies. Point is, unfortunately, Rose Bay decided not to create anything online anymore, took all her decks down, and it was before I was able to invest in a copy of said deck. And this one was really speaking to me, and I found myself very heartbroken about it. And I'm happy to say they're now available again on Make Playing Cards if you should so find yourself in the same position. But I was able to snag this copy through Aura Flynn Time, who is another lovely YouTube creator and someone I support on Patreon, and she stocks in her shop indie decks. And I was able to snag one of the pre-orders. And I have to say, like, this is the Oracle deck that feels like, and this is not a definitive claim because I have not had this one long enough to put it in the same standing as this deck, but this is a very bold thought to entertain. These Blue Bones Oracle almost holds and works with my abilities in the same way that Tarot of the Haunted House does. It speaks to me poetically. It like instantly opens a door into something. There's like so much feeling. And again, it helps me speak this language that I guess I don't get to speak with anybody else. It's beyond words, right? It taps into that feeling. It just like instantly sees you in a way and like explains or brings up something that like maybe you weren't even aware of. This card, the monster you feed. So this, I'm so glad that I'm able to use this. And Racine from Alamoon 513, probably like my favorite card witchy person on the internet of all time. I'm trying to be that one I might not show because of, female form and things. But I think she's gonna do a workshop with this deck, which I am over the moon excited about. So we'll stop here. A rose and her thorns. But I love the like choppy real world photography. Photographic decks are like my thing anyway. There's something that really speaks to me with like the real photos, especially when it's not people. Like I really appreciate that it's not just like a person in a scene, like she has other things going on in the card. But I also really, really love the titles. That kind of seals the deal for me with this. Because like what other card have you seen that says licking wounds? Like, and I knew I loved you. Breaking bread. Like, some of them are more generic, like reverence. Okay, you've probably seen that before. Bearer of ruin. But Still I linger. There's something about these phrases or these words or the combination of them that you don't always see that helps me tap into my my intuition, as me Magic would say. I've never said that before in my life, but that came out. Something that helps me tap into my intuition much deeper with these keywords than like if I just have a generic deck that's like abundance, empowerment, gratitude. You know what I mean? So these blue balloons, one of my only purchases for 2026 thus far, and she has a very high place on the list. Like if I could only keep 5 decks, this might have already made the list, which is very serious to say. So thank you, Rose Bay Tarot. If you ever watch this, I highly doubt you would, but if you ever watch this video, so, so grateful. Okay. Not that she created it, that you created it. Not she didn't give it to me. I feel like that's important to say. I gotta take a drink. All right. Moving on. This deck, Ask the Witch deck, is another oldie but goodie. One that I'm trying to think. I might have gotten it even before the Haunted House Tarot. Anyway, it's one that I love and takes a break quite often, but I always come back to her and we're besties. We're good friends. Um, this deck is hard to shuffle if you have small hands, just so you know. My only gripe about this deck. But love I love the surreal atmosphere that this paints, and I love that it brings you into its own world. I also love that each of the major arcana cards are a different goddess or mythical person. The devil is Lilith, Chef's Kiss. And it has unique colors that you don't see anywhere else. It gives me like adult cartoon vibes. You know, those shows that are like, it's funny and effed up, and it makes a lot of satirical jokes, but also like touches on a lot of like deep things. Um, like Rick and Morty. This particular art style reminds me of Mr. Pickles. If you know of either of those shows and enjoy them as much as I do, we can definitely be friends. Um, but yeah, I used this deck a lot this January. I don't have a way to describe the voice that this like deck has for me as much as I can with the Haunted House Tarot. I don't have words. I just really love it. I really love it. I continue to pull it out and use it and put her away. And it's one that I don't ever foresee coming out of my rotation. So yeah, this feels very earthy. I guess this is a good way to describe this deck. Like this is like grounded intuitive wisdom versus the Rose Bay Tarot, which is more like watery intuitive wisdom. Rose Bay Tarot. It's not a tarot. These Blue Bones Oracle. It's more like a watery intuitive read. This one's more like airy and watery. Maybe I should just start describing things in elements now. That seems like an appropriate thing to do. So that's the Ask the Witch Tarot. I can't believe I still have three decks to talk about. How did we get here? Next, we'll go to the Heavenly Bodies Astrology deck. This is the deck that I purchased in December. So it is new to me, but one thing that I've been slowly working on learning over the years is astrology, and I still have like a very, to me, what feels like a very basic grasp on things, but I am improving. So, in an attempt to further my knowledge about astrology and continue learning this system, I purchased this deck. And I have to say, I have purchased a few astrology decks with this same intention over the years, and this is my favorite thus far for this specific function. It does a beautiful, Lily Ashwell, the creator, does a beautiful job. Not only did she make the artwork, but she wrote the book. And she does a beautiful job just like putting things in simple but like deep terms, which as someone who's all about depth, but also has been struggling to learn this system, I really needed that. I really need another drink, but I don't want to pause. I lost my train of thought. Anyway, um, switching gears, I guess. Lily is making a tarot deck with Blue of Earth, and I don't know when that's coming out, but I will definitely be getting that. So this was also fun to be able to just kind of like experience some of what might be in store because of that deck. So if you are interested in astrology and are looking for a deck to help you learn it, I do recommend this one because it does work really well for both astrology study and just regular readings. Like it works as a regular deck, which is, I feel like it's a challenging balance to be able to pull off those two functions in a way that feels harmonious, where one isn't overshadowing the other. And I think that she did a beautiful job with that. So that's the Heavenly Bodies Astrology deck. Another deck that I've used quite a bit. I use this one a lot in the end of February, beginning of March, working with Lilith, is The Witch's Tarot by Burning Paper Hearts. I'm going to be very careful and only show you a couple of images because female form is highly celebrated in this deck, which I love, but YouTube does not. Which I'm sure you hear everybody saying now. I'm sick of hearing everybody say it, so calling myself out on that. But I love this deck. I love working with the Divine Feminine with it. I particularly enjoy working with Lilith using this deck. She also will work with me using Terror of the Haunted House, but I feel like we've kind of like graduated to this other space together with this deck, which has been really nice and fun to do. So I don't have much to say about this deck except it's not for everybody, but if it's for you, it's pretty great. My only complaint is I love how easy it is to shuffle, and I dislike how hard it is to shuffle. Meaning, I love how thin the cardstock is and flexible because you can riffle it. And I really dislike the Velvet Soft Touch cardstock as a general rule because all the cards stick together and I can't stand it. Of course, I'm out of water. If you film videos, I don't know if this happens to anybody else. As soon as I start talking, it's like my throat's scratchy. I like lose my voice for no reason. If I was just talking on the phone, now. This is my last deck on my desk. I do have two honorable mentions if you want to continue hanging out with me and staying. But this is technically the last like deck that was on my desk. Why I feel the need to shuffle this one, who knows? But we just go with it. This is by Dame Darcy. I got this last year in a deck trade, and this is probably my favorite deck out of that trade. And the deck that I've used the most. I'm trying to think to see if I'm going to call myself a liar with that, but I really, really love this deck. Mermaids are my thing. They have been since I was a little kid. Mermaids, pirates, aliens, dinosaurs, sign me up. All of the above. And I have had a very challenging time finding a mermaid deck that I actually enjoy. I don't really resonate with a lot of the ones that the tarot ones that I've seen thus far. They just read too like Disney magical unicorn for me, but this deck is it's juicy. I love the colors. I love that the characters are all like hand drawn and they're not like perfect. They don't look like they came out of again like a an animated movie. They could be, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't know. They feel so like lifelike. Life, not lifelike. Words, you guys, words. It feels full of life. You can feel the art, the intention, the creativity. And you can really feel the element of water in here, but you also feel the element of earth very strongly, which is a very challenging thing to couple together and to have come across well. And I think whether that was artist's intention or not, they did that really, really well with this particular deck. And I found it a great, enjoyable thing to work with. And I think that this is one I will be keeping in my rotation for quite a while. With that being said, I have quite a few that I am open to trading or giving a new home. So I'll leave that document linked below if you'd like to trade decks with me. You can check out a list of what I have and send me an email and we can chit chat. I just think, I don't know. I love swapping decks with people because it's a really fun way to explore new decks without creating more stuff on the planet. You know what I mean? It's like having your own personal library and being able to like trade in your stuff for something new and vice versa for the price of shipping. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard me ramble all about how much I love deck swaps. So those are the decks that were on my desk for the first quarter of 2026 and probably a whole lot of nonsense word salad about them. Two honorable mentions if you want to still hang out are the Rider-Waite. This is a basic Rider-Waite deck. I don't even know what it's called. I got it on Etsy. But I really enjoy this like black and colorful scheme. I feel like there's a lot of different color palettes of like the RWS tarot decks that you can get these days. But something about this one just I love that it's all black, but you get that pop of color and it just brings some life into my life. Brings life into my life in those dark months. You know what I mean? When it's snowing for like the 6th month in a row and it's cold and I can't go outside and I'm deep in the shadow work portal and I just like need to pull myself out of it. This color scheme really does it for me. And then last but not least, my other honorable mention is one that I have been keeping in my bedroom, and this is the Sacred Rebels Oracle by Lana Fairchild. This is an older copy that came into my possession and I trimmed. And this is my first experience working with this deck. I'm trying to remember, did I use it much last year? It came into my life. Ooh, I haven't gotten this one. This one's really interesting. It came into my life last summer, but I didn't really work with it until this year. And then sometimes before work, I just like, I don't have time to pull a card. I'm gonna be honest, I get up way too late. I'm like a diesel engine in the morning, okay? Like I just have to have a full cup of coffee before I can even think about doing anything other than breathing. And it takes me about half an hour to drink that cup of coffee. And I just stare into the abyss and try to remember that I'm human in a body. And then by that time, I have to get up, get out of bed, get dressed, put my dog out, do my breakfast, start my car, all that stuff to get ready for my hour to commute to work. But anyway, you don't need to know any of that. All this to say, sometimes I just really need to pull a card in the morning and I don't have very long. And I really like that I can grab one of these, pull it out, look at the image, look at the word, or flip open to Alana's very wordy guidebook and let my eye land on something and have something to literally like walk out the door with. Let's be honest, by the time I get behind the wheel and turn on my podcast or something, I've totally forgotten what it said, but in the moment, it's real nice. This is hard practice in real life. But it has been a joy to have a deck finally in my possession that so many people have been raving about for a very long time. And I'm happy to report that I am enjoying it. I wouldn't say it's a deck that I would really use to like clarify anything, at least not yet. It's kind of one of those like long, wordy standalone things, as most Alana Fairchild decks are. But I have been enjoying it. All right, one more bonus, one more bonus. I wasn't going to show you this, and I'm like, I'm going to show you anyway, because this is the deck that I have been using to clarify things and spreads, which I think is important to mention as a function. And this is the Elemental Empath Oracle. This was my most recent card that I got for Ostara. I can't say that I've used the guidebook much, if at all, but I really enjoy this deck. Usually I don't enjoy decks that are just people with backgrounds. That's really not my jam. However, I do really enjoy it in this particular context. And I don't know much about the creation of this particular deck, but I do know that I recognize some of the people in here from um, people that I follow on the internet, which is really cool. Like Activation Vibration is in here, Heather, which is really fun. And I really enjoy this deck. It's got different elements in it. It's a great clarifier. There are lots of different themes. You get like the main word and then a bunch of keywords on the bottom, which is super helpful. And I'm just trying to, here it is. There's Heather. I just think it's really fun. Uh, I should probably learn more about this, but I've been using this deck to clarify a lot of spreads that I've been doing, readings with tarot, spreads, word salad again. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, for hanging out. I hope that you enjoyed just hanging out with me and listening to me ramble about nonsense and show you my decks. Okay. I will try my best to remember to link that trade list in the description box in case you want to trade some decks with me, or if you're just nosy and want to know what I'm ready to pass on, that's cool too. And with all that being said, my loves, I'll see you again really soon. Take care.